Today, Cortona, city of hidden treasures, looks very closely at the most personal masterpiece of Luca Signorelli. We have the great honor of having Professor Tom Henry speak to us today. He's the leading expert on Luca Signorelli in the world. Professor Henry has curated exhibitions of Signorelli in the world's most important museums, the Louvre, the Prado, the National Gallery in London, and in Cortona. Tell us, Professor Henry, why is this lamentation over the dead body of Christ so important to Luca Signorelli?
In 1502, Luca Signorelli installed his great Lamentation at the foot of the cross on the high altar of the Church of Santa Margherita in Cortona. He was born in Cortona in 1450 and died there in 1523. This painting is now in the Museo Diocesano in Cortona, and it is his most important and most personal work. Why so? If we look at the picture and the figures represented within it, one sees Christ recently taken down from the cross as related in the Gospels, cradled in the lap of his mother, the Virgin Mary, who has fainted. Her own head is cradled by a figure behind her. To the right in the foreground one sees Mary Magdalene, who has slumped to the ground, her face contorted in grief and her arms flung wide open. In the middle, another of the Marys holds Christ's left arm and makes as though to kiss his wounded hand. Above her, the figure of St. John the Evangelist in his grief cranes in to protect, and beside them two male figures, Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, looking at the crown of thorns and the nails, while on the left three other Marys express their grief in various ways. The grief is painful and tangible, and the tears tumble down the cheeks of the female figures. Vasari describes this picture, but he also, in a separate section, comments on how Signorelli, after the death of his son, stoically stripped him naked and drew the corpse before it was buried. And this is what he said. It is said that a son of his, most beautiful in countenance and in person, whom he loved dearly, was killed at Cortona, and that Luca, heartbroken as he was, had him stripped naked, and with the greatest firmness of soul, without lamenting or shedding a tear, portrayed him to the end that, whenever he might wish, he might be able to see by the means of his own work that which nature had given him and adverse fortune had snatched away. Now, Signorelli introduces this as hearsay, and it's too easy to dismiss this story as being a creation, particularly when we discover that the picture was delivered when Antonio, his eldest son and also a painter, was still alive in February 1502. But we know that Antonio died in the summer of 1502, and it seems just possible that the linking of this episode and this figure happened very quickly and was related to exactly that coincidence in the lives of the two. What adds to this is how personal the picture became to Signorelli. He would renounce half the fee that he was awarded for this picture for the benefit of his soul. He would subsequently make his own last will and testament in the church in front of this finished picture, looking up at this dead figure of Christ. And recently, one more piece of evidence has come to light, which indicates that just possibly this famous description by Vasari having some ground behind it. And the evidence is this, that Signorelli painted the head of Christ in this picture twice. Below the head we see, there is another. If you look just above the lips of Christ as painted, you can see the outline of a nose and of eyes that were painted in the first version and then covered up when this was changed. The moment we see two painted versions so very different, particularly the latter becoming so much more powerful in the way it evokes the figure's death, one allows to at least consider the possibility that Signorelli repainted the figure of Christ later in 1502, after he had initially delivered the picture and following the tragic incident of his son's death. At that point, we have the explanation of this picture's pathos. We have the episode that Vasari alluded to, and we can think of how personal it meant to Signorelli to be in that church, to make his will in front of this picture, which showed his own hope for the future, prematurely dead before his time. So much so that he must have thought of life very much as Vasari expressed when he said, "He might be able by means of the work of his own hands to see that which nature had given him and adverse fortune had snatched away."